Let us review some key terms on patterns of inheritance. Allele. One of two or more variants of a gene that determines a particular trait for a characteristic. Codominance. In a heterozygote, complete and simultaneous expression of both alleles for the same characteristic. Continuous variation. A variation in a characteristic in which the individuals show a range of traits with small differences between them. Dihybrid. The result of a cross between two true breeding parents that express different traits for two characteristics. Discontinuous variation. A variation in a characteristic in which individuals show two or a few traits with large differences between them. Dominant. Describes a trait that masks the expression of another trait when both versions of the gene are present in an individual. Epistasis. An interaction between genes such that one gene masks or interferes with the expression of another. F1. The first filial generation in a cross, the offspring of the parental generation. F2. The second filial generation produced when F1 individuals are self-crossed or fertilized with each other. Genotype. The underlying genetic makeup consisting of both physically visible and non-expressed alleles of an organism. Hemizygous. The presence of only one allele for a characteristic, as in X linkage. Hemizygosity makes descriptions of dominance and recessiveness irrelevant. Heterozygous. Having two different alleles for a given gene on the homologous chromosomes. Homozygous. Having two identical alleles for a given gene on the homologous chromosomes. Hybridization. The process of mating two individuals that differ with the goal of achieving a certain characteristic in their offspring. Incomplete dominance. In a heterozygote, expression of two contrasting alleles such that the individual displays an intermediate phenotype. Law of dominance. In a heterozygote, one trait will conceal the presence of another trait for the same characteristic. Law of independent assortment. Genes do not influence each other with regard to sorting of alleles into gametes. Every possible combination of alleles is equally likely to occur. Hi, if you found this video informative, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share the link. We want these free textbook resources to be available to other students. All right, let's get back to reading. Law of segregation. Paired unit factors, that is genes, segregate equally into gametes such that offspring have an equal likelihood of inheriting any combination of factors. Linkage. A phenomenon in which alleles that are located in close proximity to each other on the same chromosome are more likely to be inherited together. Model system. A species or biological system used to study a specific biological phenomenon to gain understanding that will be applied to other species. Monohybrid. The result of a cross between two true breeding parents that express different traits for only one characteristic. P. The parental generation in a cross. Phenotype. The observable traits expressed by an organism. Punnett square. A visual representation of a cross between two individuals in which the gametes of each individual are denoted along the top and side of a grid respectively, and the possible zygotic genotypes are recombined at each box in the grid. Recessive. Describes a trait whose expression is masked by another trait when the alleles for both traits are present in an individual. Reciprocal cross. A paired cross in which the respective traits of the male and female in one cross become the respective traits of the female and male in the other cross. Recombination. The process during meiosis in which homologous chromosomes exchange linear segments of genetic material, thereby dramatically increasing genetic variation in the offspring and separating linked genes. Test cross. A cross between a dominant expressing individual with an unknown genotype and a homozygous recessive individual. The offspring phenotypes indicate whether the unknown parent is heterozygous or homozygous for the dominant trait. Trait. A variation in an inherited characteristic. Wild type. The most commonly occurring genotype or phenotype for a given characteristic found in a population. X-linked. A gene present on the X chromosome but not on the Y chromosome. Now on to chapter summary.